Nothing new there. Okay, we're going to move some stuff here. Okay, that was the kind of, in terms of his prepared remarks, that was the kind of thing, if you were reading the transcript, you'd say, boy, just a bunch of cliches. Cliche after cliche, effort and structure and organization and patience and this kind of thing. But I can tell you, this is, if there's any school that needs someone like this right now, it's the University of Florida. Billy Napier has such a quiet confidence about him. He's totally confident in what he does and the structure he puts in place and the systems he has the systems he has works, and he's going to implement them. And he's got everything in a row. This is what you do, A to Z. And he's seen other people do it, and he's developed his own. And it's obvious just in watching to him talk, this is the way it's going to go. And I mean, for a decade plus, we have the school has not had that. We're all over the place. McElwain and Mullen and Muschamp, really, they had no idea how to run a program. They thought they knew how to coach a little. And all three had a few strengths here and there, but overall, they had no idea how to run a program. And here we have a guy that actually wants to run every aspect of the program, from what the kids wear to what they eat, everything, all the way up. And in watching that, I was just totally struck by it. We could not have really. I don't think we could have picked a better guy for what this university needs right now. It's very difficult to think, in watching him and hearing what he has to say, that he won't be successful. I don't know how successful, uh, but the fact that Florida was able to win 10 games a year under Mack and Mullen with the garbage they put together as a program is amazing. If those guys can win 10 games, what can Billy Napier do when you've got a program where everybody has their role and everything is done the right way and the way it's supposed to be done. Everybody's accountable. He talks about patience. I don't know how long it'll take, but I think I think next year is gonna be a solid year. We're not gonna win any championships next year, but I think we're gonna be noticeably better right away. Right away. I think the players will get off the bus in a different way. This is the kind of thing this guy pays attention to. Um, so he's not the kind of guy you look at him and you get excited. He's a goofy looking guy. He's got he shaves his hair. He just shaves his head. He doesn't care. He does not care how he looks at all. It has nothing. It's all football. The man's life is football. Um, and the fact, it's very striking to me that his father was a high school coach for 28 years. Both of his brothers are high school coaches. He had said that he aspired to be a high school coach. That's what he wanted to be. This is a guy who loves high school coaches. And to me, it's so big for recruiting, is getting in with these high schools, which is what they said he did in Louisiana. He'd be able to talk to these coaches, and he's just one of them. He's not Mullen and Butters. We heard the stories about how weird they were with high schools, and I'm sure they felt like high school coaches were beneath them. And this guy is completely the opposite. He he's just one of us. He's a normal guy, but he's a football lunatic. So, and talk about there's a reason why Strickland, I think, fell for the guy quickly. Talk about a representative of the school and how he presents himself and his family and his values. You're never going to have to worry about this guy, fondling a cheerleader or doing stuff with a shark or that kind of stuff. It's just everything the right way. And he is the kind of guy he sits in the living room of recruits, and what are the parents going to think about the guy? I mean, he's just a tremendous high character guy, and he cares about that kind of thing. So, what he called himself, a football junkie, and I believe it. I think that's all he does, day or night. I don't know if he sleeps, but I think he's the kind of guy. He's up at 5 a.m. Thinking about how to make the program better. So it's it's just strange. He's not the kind of guy you would think would excite you, but there's just something very powerful there. I was struck by his conference. He had his prepared remarks, which is pretty typical, and they were relatively stiff. I don't think he's the world's greatest public speaker, but he isn't bad. But when you get to the questions, when he can just be off the cuff, he was much more warm and natural and truthful. He's a very honest guy. When he says something like, "Look, we may not get anybody to sign in this recruiting class here before early signing day." Well, that's an honest thing to say. And then he adds something really interesting. But, we have to do our due diligence. It has to make sense for the player and it has to make sense for us. So just rushing a player in a week after he's hired may not make sense. It may not be good for the player or the program. Not that many coaches would do this. Some would want to come in with their hair on fire and bring as many players into the class, stuff as many they can in for the recognition or hype or whatever. This guy is the opposite of hype. Anyone else get that? He doesn't. I mean, I think he's able to hype his team up in his own way, but he doesn't care about headlines. He's got a system, and it's going to be done this way, and we can't get to step 87 until step 86 is done, and that's just the way it is. And he thinks you build yourself up to a championship program. He also, the high school coach thing and the fact that he talks about academics and the kids, this is not, at least for now, an NFL guy. So we don't have to worry about the NFL swooping in, grabbing him. The offensive thing is going to be that's the one thing we're all wondering about the most. He definitely said he's calling the plays. I didn't gather he was hiring an OC. That was what he implied anyway. He talked about an offensive analyst. And then he talked about something pretty cool, like two offensive line coaches, a big focus on the offensive and defensive line. It's just great old school stuff. So you would think a lot of this old school stuff would be boring, and maybe to somebody is, but it wasn't to me. I'm intrigued is the word I would use. I'm very intrigued to see where this program could be even just a year from now. What will we be talking about? Because every aspect of the program is going to change. And the rumors we heard were true in that he wasn't going to take a job unless he had the support he needed and the staff he needed. And Strickland evidently was on that same page, and he felt the same way. Strickland has turned the corner. He's definitely nothing like Foley. And evidently, Napier didn't have to ask very hard because Strickland already felt that way. So we're going to have a big expanded staff, and that's very exciting. Does anyone in the chat box have anything specific? I see you guys are having some thoughts on him calling his own plays. These OC guys, these offensive guys, they don't want to let that go. Now, it wouldn't surprise me, maybe in time, if that will change. He'd have to get an analyst or an OC he really trusts. But for now, obviously, that's not going to happen. But I believe, didn't Spurrier call all the plays for the 12 years he was here, et cetera? So those OC guys, they don't like to give that up. I can't sit there and tell you it's good or bad yet until the game starts. So we're going to find out. But an offensive analyst, I don't know what that person's role would be. Let's see here. Discipline. Well, there's a word. We definitely need that at UF. Any assistant coaches hired yet? Well, we haven't heard any of that yet. I would assume we're going to hear a lot the next 2 weeks, we should know a lot. In fact, he said in the conference they had a lot of decisions to make with the assistants. I'm sure they'll keep. He brought a couple of guys with him. I think he'll keep at least one of our guys. We'll see about that. Let's see. I'm just scrolling here. Da 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 da. Yeah, he didn't look like he hadn't really slept in a while. But I don't know. He's the kind of guy that strikes me doesn't sleep much at all. Period. I think he's going to make the players hate him for a while, which is good. I know that the players hated Meyer right away with the way he comes in a program. Yeah, he used the word army of personnel, which is music to our ears since we've gone on a skeleton crew for a decade plus. We actually get to wake up to what is it, almost 2022? It's going to be great. Will Knox be the coach in the Sarsaparilla Bowl? What is sarsaparilla, by the way? What is that, a brand of potato chips? What the hell is that? I assume Knox will be. Yeah, Knox has an undefeated record to continue before he gets the boot. I'm quite certain he's not coming along. Let's see. We got some stuff in the box. He's bringing two of his assistants, running backs coach Jabbar Jaluki, and defensive coordinator and outside linebackers coach Patrick Toney. And I think Toney was the guy we heard about some really good things about. Root beer. That's what Gasparilla is, root beer. A root beer company paid to have a bowl named after themselves. It'll be interesting to see if he what's cleaned house in terms of players. Who's going to enter the portal. This always happens. These players are going to have to get in gear and know they're going to have to work. Did you like the way he praised Mac? Mac was one of his former bosses. I'm sure Mac has done something in his life that was positive. I never saw it, but evidently he's done some positive things coaching. We just never saw it when he was at UF. Toney, I didn't think Toney was going to be the DC. They were talking about making him the defensive line coach, but I don't know. I heard a lot of good things in the box. A lot of people there's been, a group that was down on this hire for understandable for a lot of reasons, but almost everybody's come around. Remember, the hero we want, not the hero we need. Kiffin, we just can't let Kiffin go. Kiffin getting big. If you thought Kiffin was lazy at $5 million a year, wait till I see how lazy he is at $7.5 million. It's a hold my beer moment. Yeah, NV Gator, who's been he's been a basher, even came around a little. Although he didn't like his forehead. He didn't like Napier's forehead. There's a lot of scrunching going on. A Marine drill instructor. That's a good observation. He does look like a drill instructor. And while we've seen a lot of hype videos and him talking to his team, which is great. What I haven't seen is how he is in practice. Is he a drill sergeant type? I'd like to see that. I wonder if there's any video online about what he does to these guys in practice. So, his offense fit AR or EJ? Did you watch any of the, if you watch the Louisiana game, he's got basically a smaller, crappier version of Anthony Richardson. Guy ran a lot. In fact, he had a 55-yard TD run. He couldn't. I mean, he wasn't that good of a quarterback. He had a pretty lousy arm, and he was all over the place. So, yet he had a nice game. If that guy can, put up a good number and lead the team to a conference title, AR-15 can definitely fit into his offense. But we're just going to have to see if he's going to adapt his offense, to the personnel he's got. Obviously, the great ones do. And if it's going to take a little time to morph into what he wants it to be. Did he make any comments on the current roster? He didn't, and no one asked him. But who knows? I don't know how a coach does this. Can you guys not hear me? I'm just sending some comments here. Did my volume go away? He's only had one meeting with the team. I don't know how a new coach evaluates. How the hell do you just walk into a program with 85 or 90 players and figure that out? No, I guess he's got quite a bit of time. Hey, we've got some chatters here in the YouTube box. I've been ignoring you people. He's not even monitoring this. They're bashing me in there. He's not even monitoring this chat. Oh, let's see what they got to say here. Two offensive line coaches. That is something. Has anyone else heard of that? I mean, I think we all. Let's face it. The offensive and defensive lines, they're really how you win football games. And if you've got those two down to solid, you're going to win most of your games. Even if you got a crappy quarterback, you're going to win most of your games. So I mean, I love it. What can you say? He's not even though he's old school, some of his ideas are not necessarily old school stuff. And where the heck did the other box go? There you are. The transfer portal he did mention. Football junkie, I bet he's scouring that just like he's scouring the recruiting stuff. If Meyer used two offensive line coaches, I don't remember it. I don't remember anyone mentioning it. I don't believe so. Let's take a moment to highlight how stupid Pat Dooley is and how quickly Napier identified that. Well, wasn't Dooley the one who used no microphone? Just blathered on from the back of the room. No one could hear anything. And Napier basically goes, "Oh, we're not worried about that right now. Just sit down, sir." Basically what he said. I'm not even thinking about that right now. He just dismissed Dooley. I mean, how could you not feel at one with Napier immediately? I mean, when he shuts down Dooley, boom, on the first day. It's great. And how Dooley keeps his, I thought when he left, he was going to lose his pass. He has no business in that room. As long as his goal is to not have his QB lead the team in rushing. I don't think that's his goal. I'd have to look at the stats of Louisiana to see. His quarterback was probably the second leading rusher, I would guess. All right, guys, I've been at it a while. Does anyone else have any more thoughts before I get on up out of here? It was great. We actually have something to look forward to. It's going to be more of an interesting summer. It's going to be a great spring game. I think if Mullen had stayed, the apathy, we would have just walked away. No one would have been at the spring game. No one would have cared. He mentioned NIL multiple times. He did. That to me is a big one. If you want to attract players, mention money to them that they can make. that's I don't think enough coaches are putting enough emphasis on that. I'm asked why I can't get a press pass. I checked that a few years ago, and basically the woman on the phone said, "Well, what outfit do you work? Which media outlet do you work for?" Well, I don't. I just have a website. Oh, we don't give press passes to websites. Okay, thank you. Click. That was the end of it. So I don't know how some of these guys get them, but I think you have to be affiliated with someone legit. You can imagine how someone, as a representative of Gator Chatter, would be treated in that room. Oh boy, would they hate us. How long do you think the rebuild will take? I mentioned this last podcast. We're many, many years behind Bama and Georgia, for example, in recruiting. That doesn't mean we can't beat them, but they have a distinct advantage for several years, at least. So, uh, in terms of having a powerhouse team that can compete for the national title, gosh, I don't know. You'd have to think 3 or 4 years. You'd have to, unless you catch lightning in a bottle or you have a dynamo Heisman quarterback. So I'm not worried about national titles right now. With three crappy coaches in a row, let's focus on the SEC. Win the SEC. That really should be the focus. And then we don't have the kind of roster really that can compete. It is what it is. This is the fun of college football. In the NFL, for example, you have free agency, and you can in the pros you can just sign players and bam, 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 create an all-star team instantly. With recruiting, you got to build them back up. So if Georgia and Alabama have 5 stars behind their 5 stars, and we have 3 stars, they've got an advantage. But there's going to be we're going to see instant progress. We're going to have a respectable program next year. And one thing Napier said that I did like, he said, I want us to be unique, and I want teams to worry about playing us and preparing for us. So we're not talking about Woody Hayes football if he's saying things like that. He wants to be hard to prepare for. I got the impression Napier can hire all the staff he needs. Do you think the university administration is ready to get in the arms race? Well, didn't they already do that by making this hire? And we say a $7.5 million budget for his assistants and another $5 million budget for other football-related expenses. That's $12.5 million. I'm quite sure that's quite a bit more than it's been in the past. With the Heavener complex supposedly being done, that is facilities shouldn't be an issue anymore. Our facilities should be at least close enough on par with the others. So you go from, once everybody has great facilities, even Kentucky, the facility argument is taken out of the equation. I think for the most part, we don't have to worry about the facility argument with recruiting anymore. Now we got to worry about the other stuff, the NIL stuff, and the give other kids reasons to come here. Did Napier say anything that troubled you or even gave you pause? He didn't for me. Not much. He was very honest. He said he was honest. He said he wasn't going to rush things. He didn't. I don't think he tried to blow smoke up anybody's rear end. What can you say? This is not a normal situation. You walk in and change a couple things and you've got a title team. So I'm willing to be patient as long as we've got a respectable program and we're making progress. After Meyer left, our expectations were justifiably here. We were at the top of the mountain, And since then, they've been whittled and whittled and whittled, right or wrong, down here. We can't lift them back up here tomorrow. So, but every day they need to be coming back up. And really, within 2 years, 2 full classes, someone mentioned, we should really start having national title um, expectations. So, uh, you guys are on a roll now. I'm feeling very pumperish too, and it's been a while. It's been a while. When Mullen was hired, we were miserable. We knew what he was. We knew what we were getting. We knew how it would end. Um, okay, a little off-topic stuff. Who do you have in the playoff games? I think Alabama is going to crush Cincinnati like bugs. Bugs. I'm talking 20, 30, 40 points. That's not the interesting game. Um, how does Georgia handle the beatdown they took? Michigan is very hot. Yet, at the end of the day, Michigan is a Big Ten plotting school. They usually get reality when they play SEC teams, but I don't know. This Georgia team really is not. They've got some great players, but they're really not. They're not an unbeatable team at all. So, I personally, I'm hoping Michigan beats them and knocks them out now. Make them one and done. Boom. They can end the season with 2 losses. They'll want to fire Kirby. I really don't. Some say, "I'll let them advance," and let Bama beat them again. That'd be kind of fun too. But I don't want them to advance. To me, that I don't. I honestly I don't care about the playoffs except for one thing, and that's that Georgia loses. The other 3 can win. Let Cincinnati go all the way. I don't care. I'll take Cincinnati as national champs ahead of Georgia. That's for sure. So uh, it should be fun. I'll be pulling hard for Michigan. Michigan can definitely win that game. Georgia's heart may have been their spirit may have been crushed by Alabama because they thought their defense was the '85 Bears and they couldn't be scored on, and then Bama, their quarterback has almost 300 yards at halftime. That was fun. I enjoyed watching that with my brethren here and sisters. That is, we got a few. Casey Gator's always right there. The one gal, she's right in the middle of it. She's not afraid of any of you. Anything else? We're always quoting A Few Good Men, right? So I could quote Jessup. What do you want to ask now? My favorite color? That's one of the most quotable movies of all time. What do you think our record will be next year? Either 9-3 or 10-2. Tell you the truth, though, it's all about AR-15. My concern is he can't stay healthy. That's a legitimate concern. He is a Heisman kind of talent. We all know that. If he lights it up, we could win more than 10 games. It's remarkable what a great quarterback can do. So, to me, 9 wins is the floor. If we have a quarterback that's unstoppable, who knows? Who knows? Should they tell AR to stop doing flips? Everyone loves the flips, but it's a great way to get injured goofing off. And as much as he gets hurt, I think if I were Napier, I'd tell him to stop doing the damn flips. Well, and Emory Jones, will he even be around? Well, he should transfer. He may not, but he should. I'd like to see him transfer because I'd like to see him play for someone else this last year. Everyone likes him. He's a really nice player. Never done anything but be a good teammate. He's not like Franks. Franks was a jerk. Emory Jones is not like that. Franks, you wanted to push out the door and then root against him. Emory Jones is not like that. Anything else, boys and girls? How bad will the pressure be on Napier if he loses to Utah? Well, first of all, Utah's a pretty good team. And there's always going to be pressure on the coach, no matter who it is, after a loss, even their first game. That's just the way it goes in Florida. I get the feeling like he's not the kind of guy that's going to be constantly whining and crying and upset about the pressure and the fans. It ate at Mullen and Mac. Mac had to make up death threats. He just could. The fans, they're just mean to me. I don't think Nate Napier's. He's just going to go back to doing what he's doing. I think he's going to seize on the pressure and seize on the expectations. And I don't think these big bad little fans are going to hurt his feelings like they have some of the past coaches. But gosh, how far away from the, what are we, 10, 8, 9 months from the 9 or 10 months from the first game. We got a ways to go. Let's not worry about Utah yet. Let's just hope AR-15 is starting. To me, that's a big one. He needs to be told he's starting soon next year. He needs to go into a training program as the starter. He needs to work all season long as the starter. But the mentality, he's the starter. He's going into the season as a starting quarterback. He's the man. Get it in your head. You're starting all summer. So, cover 2. This has been asked, forgive me, but I felt like instead of trying to sell us something good, he was recruiting us to something better. Yeah, it was just a very matter-of-fact, down-to-earth kind of thing. You believed everything he said. There was no fluff, there was just no BS there. It is what it was, and he was going to do it his way. In the order it was supposed to be in, and it took as long as it was going to take. What can you say? But I also think he made it clear that the expectations were, in fact, maybe his best line of the whole conference was, if you can't find 25 great players to come to Florida a year, well, then they're going to be looking for a new coach. And that's true. You look at the recruiting pool, not just nationwide, but just in Florida alone, there's no reason why Florida can't have a absolutely premier class year in, year out, and they should. And I think he recognizes that. Okay. 6 p.m. Ox King called me. He's going to want to talk all about this. So everything I just said, I have to repeat to good old Dad. Any final questions, anybody? Guys, thank you. We'll obviously it's the off season, but I'll figure out how to do more of these here and there. Definitely do one around spring game time, maybe before, maybe recruiting ones. I don't know. We'll see. We've got some. Let's just all enjoy the bowl games. It's kind of sad when football goes. Last remnants of football, and we're going to have it's going to be fun. We have stuff to talk about. We have stuff to speculate about. We have stuff to be excited about. So thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful evening.